Hello everybody. Yesterday we read the first part of the chapter, Ishwaran the storyteller, and now let's continue the chapter. I was studying in the junior class at that time. Junior year means class 1 to 5, primary level or primary section, and was watching the whole drama from the rooftop. And he says that Ishwaran says that he was, and Ishwaran says that when this incident happened, he was in the junior section, and he was also there on the terrace along with the teachers. I don't know what came over me suddenly, and he said that he was overcome with some willpower, some type of feeling, and he immediately grabbed a stick from one of the teacher's hand, and before anybody could understand, he ran down the stairs and came in the open space in front of the elephant. The elephant grunted and menacingly swung a branch of a tree which it held in its trunk. And when he reached the open place in the ground in front of the elephant, after seeing Ishwaran, it expressed its anger. It stamped its feet, kicking up a lot of mud, and then Ishwaran stamped his feet to tell the narrator, Mahendra, how the elephant reacted at that time when he was standing in front of the elephant in the open field. It looked frightening. It was a frightening moment. He was also a little bit scared, but I moved slowly towards him. But he said that, even though he was a little bit frightened, he moved slowly toward the elephant, and the small stick he was still having in his hand. People were watching the scene hypnotized, and he says that the people who were standing on their rooftop were watching the scene hypnotized. Now, hypnotized means to influence, to control or direct completely by a personal charm, words, or domination. And hypnotism is also art. Some people know that art and they hypnotize people with their eyes. So the people were hypnotized. They were shocked. They could not understand what a small child was doing alone in front of the elephant. What he was going to do next. The elephant looked at me red-eyed. That means the elephant expressed its anger and looked towards Ishwaran with its red eyes, ready to rush towards me, and the elephant was ready to attack Ishwaran. It lifted its trunk and trumpeted loudly. So it lifted its trunk and expressed that trumpeted, that it produced that sound, and it was ready to attack him. At that moment, I moved forward and mustering all my force. At the same moment, before the elephant could strike him, could attack him, he gathered all his strength and whacked its third toenail on the stick. Quick. And then he gathered all his courage and he took the stick and whacked. That means he hit the third toenail of the elephant with that stick. The beast looked stunned for a moment. The huge elephant was also stunned, shocked. And then it shivered, Kampana. It shivered for a moment and then it collapsed. That means it fell down on the ground unconscious. At this point, Ishwaran would leave the story unfinished. And at that time, after coming to that particular point, Ishwaran left the story incomplete, unfinished, and got up mumbling, saying that I will be back after lighting the gas and warming up the dinner. So he told Mahendra that he would go and light up the gas, warm the dinner, and he left Mahendra. Now Mahendra was very much eager to know how he managed to control the elephant? How he did he know that when he would hit the third toenail of the elephant, it would it would collapse? Mahendra, who had been listening with rapt attention and been left hanging, now he was left hanging. Now what he was going to do? What happened next? How did he come to know that when that stick was whacked, or when the stick was hit on the third toenail of the elephant, it got unconscious? How he knew that? When he returned, Ishwaran would not pick up the thread. That means when he would return after warming the dinner, he would not restart the story because he wanted to raise curiosity of Mahendra. He should tell him, he should ask him that what happened next in the story. He would not pick up the thread of the story right away. Mahendra would have to remind him that the conclusion was pending. And after some time, Mahendra would have to remind him that story was unfinished yet. And he should complete the story. Tell him what happened next when the elephant fell down. Well, a veterinary doctor was summoned. Summoned means to call. And a veterinary doctor was called to revive the animal. That means to bring the consciousness of the animal. Ishwaran would shrug casually. 2 days later, it was led away by the mahout to the jungle. And then he would say that when the veterinary doctor came and the consciousness of the elephant was gained, and after 2 days, the mahout came and led the elephant to its workplace. How did you manage to do it, Ishwaran? How did you bring down the beast? And still, some questions were lingering in Mahendra's mind. How did he manage to bring that elephant down? He wants to know the answer. It has something to do with the Japanese art, I think, sir. And Ishwaran told him that the particular hitting of the toenail had something to do with a Japanese art. I think, sir, karate or jujitsu. It is called. I had read about it somewhere, and he said that he had read somewhere that if the third toenail of the elephant is hit with a stick or something, it will lose its consciousness. It will faint. It temporarily paralyzes the nervous system, you see. Not a day passed without Ishwaran recounting some story packed with adventure, horror and suspense. So not even a single day passed when Ishwaran did not narrate any story full of suspense, adventure, horror, etc. Whether the story was credible or not, Mahendra enjoyed listening to because of the imitable way in which it was told. So whatever story was narrated to Mahendra, whether it was true or not, Mahendra enjoyed it because the unique way it was narrated to him. Because whenever Ishwaran used to narrate the story, he fully involved himself in that character. He tried to imitate that character. So the unique way, the way the story was narrated to Mahendra, he liked it, whether it was true or false, but he liked it. Mahendra enjoyed listening to it because of the inimitable way in which it was told. Ishwaran seemed to more than make up for the absence of a TV in Mahendra's living quarters. So Mahendra did not have a TV in his quarter or the particular room where he lived. But that lack was maintained, fulfilled by Ishwaran. Because every day he used to chat with him, he used to tell him endless stories full of suspense, adventure, horror. So he did not feel the absence, or you can say the lack of TV in his house. One morning when Mahendra was having breakfast, Ishwaran asked, can I make something special for dinner tonight? So one day when he was having breakfast, Ishwaran asked Mahendra if he could make something special, something more delicious that day. After all, today is an auspicious, pious, very important occasion. According to the tradition, we prepare various delicious to feed the spirits of our ancestors that day, sir. So according to Ishwaran, that day was auspicious because that day delicious dishes are prepared. And it is felt that when the person, the family members consume the dishes, it is indirectly consumed by the ancestors also. That night, Mahendra enjoyed the most delicious dinner and complimented Ishwaran on his culinary skills. And that day, he enjoyed the most delicious food ever made by Ishwaran. And he also appreciated his culinary skills. Culinary skills mean related to cooking. That means he was a very good cook also. He seemed very pleased, but unexpectedly launched into a most garish account involving the supernatural. So he was very pleased. But that day, on that particular day, Ishwaran started narrating a story of supernatural. That means ghosts. You know, sir, this entire factory area we are occupying was once a burial ground. So while he was enjoying his meal, Ishwaran told him that the particular area where they are living, the particular area where the construction site was, earlier that particular area was a burial ground. He started. Mahendra was jerked out of the pleasant reverie he had drifted into after satisfying his meal. And Mahendra was at once shocked. And he was enjoying the tasty meal, the delicious meal. But when he heard about the burial ground, about the ghost, he was he suddenly got out from the thought which he was enjoying about the delicious meal. I knew on the first day itself when I saw a human skull lying on the path. And he told Mahendra that since the very day they had come there, he knew that it had been, the particular area had been a burial ground earlier. Because the very first day when he had seen a human skull on the path. Now I come across a number of skulls and bones, Ishwaran continued. And he also said that while he goes to the market or to the other places, he often comes across human skulls and human bones. So he has come to know that he had concluded that the area had been once a burial ground. He went on to narrate how he sometimes saw ghosts at night, and he also told Mahendra that he had seen ghosts also. I am not easily frightened by these things, sir. And he also told Mahendra that he is not easily frightened by the ghost. But I am a brave fellow. He is not frightened. He is not scared when he sees the ghost. But he is a brave fellow. But one horrible ghost of a woman which appears off and on at midnight during the full moon. And he also says that, but regularly, frequently, the ghost of a woman who is very ugly appears before him frequently. At midnight during the full moon, and then the ghost of that particular woman appears before him especially on full moon days. It is an ugly creature with matted hair. That the lady ghost is very ugly. All her hairs are scattered over her face. They are tangled. And a shriveled face. Shrivel is wrinkled. There are wrinkles all over her face. Like a skeleton holding a fetus in its arm. Fetus, unborn child, unborn baby. When the ghost comes before him, he feels that the lady ghost is holding an unborn baby in her hands. Mahendra shivered at the description and interrupted rather sharply. So Mahendra shivered at the description of the ghost and he interrupted sharply. He got anger and he expressed his anger. You are crazy, Ishwaran, he told him. He called him crazy. There are no such things as ghosts or spirits. And he warned him. He told him there are no such things like ghosts or devils or spirits. It is all a figment, it is all a production, it is all a creation of his mind. Get your digestive system examined and maybe your head as well. You are talking nonsense. And he said that he was talking nonsense. Ghost and spirit doesn't exist in this modern world. And he called that whatever he had said about ghost, about supernatural, it is all nonsense. He left the room and retired for the night, expecting Ishwaran to sulk for a couple of days. And when he went to his room, he felt that the way he had talked to Ishwaran, he would not talk to him about supernatural, about ghost for some time. But the next morning he was surprised to find the cook as cheerful and talkative as ever. But the next morning when he went to his breakfast table, he saw that Ishwaran was happy as earlier. From that day, Mahendra, for all his brave talk, went to bed with a certain unease. From that day, Mahendra, whenever he went to his bed, he felt uncomfortable, uneasy, because the description of the ghost was given to Mahendra by Ishwaran. Every night he peered into the darkness outside through the window next to his bed, trying to make sure that there was no movement of dark shapes in the vicinity. Vicinity means area. So every night before he used to go to his bed, he would open the window and look outside. But he could not see a sea of, but he could only see a sea of darkness. Whenever he used to open the window at night, he could see only endless sea of darkness. Everywhere outside the world of his window, there was darkness spread through miles and miles. He could not see anything. With twinkling lights of the factory miles away, at some distance miles away, he could see the lights twinkling in his factory. But outside his window, he could see only darkness spread everywhere. He had always liked to admire the milk white landscape of full moon night. And he always used to admire, because on full moon night things are visible clearly, and he used to admire to look outside the window on full moon day. But after hearing Ishwaran's story of the female ghost, but since when he had heard from Ishwaran about the female ghost, and especially that female ghost appears on full moon night, he could not dare to look out of the window, or especially on full moon night. One night Mahendra was woken up from his sleep by a low moan. Moan means crying sound. One night when he was sleeping, he heard the sounds of moaning. Moaning means somebody crying in pain, in distress, close to his window. At first he put down to a cat prowling around for a mice, prowling, searching. At first he thought that it might be a cat, it might be prowling, it might be out, it might be searching for a mice. But soon the sound was too guttural for a cat. The sound was too guttural. Guttural means the sound that is produced from the throat, rough sound. And he understood that it was not the sound of a cat. He resisted the curiosity to look out, lest he should behold the sight which would stop his heart. So he could not dare to look out of the window. He felt that if he would open the window and look outside, see outside, and that ghost which is frequently seen by Ishwaran, if that ghost would be outside the window, and after seeing that ghost, he might receive an heart attack. So he could not dare to look out of the window, could not dare to open the window. but the wailing became louder and less feline. So the sound was becoming louder and louder, and he could not resist himself from opening the door of the window. He could not resist the temptation anymore, lowering himself to a level of the window sill. And then he lowered himself to the level of the window. Only his eyes would be visible there. He opened the window to look outside. Was a dark, cloudy, white sheet of moonlight, and when he looked out, he could see that there was white sheet of full moon. Then, there, not too far away, was a dark, cloudy form clutching a bundle, and then he could see. Suddenly, he felt that he had seen, and you can say, an image, as described by Ishwaran, of the female ghost. And he also felt that the ghost was holding something in her arms. And he remembered that it might be the fetus that the ghost seen by Ishwaran frequently holds in her arms. Mahendra broke into cold sweat. That means he got panicked, he got scared, frightened. And he felt that it might have been the same ghost which was frequently seen by Ishwaran. He fell back on the pillow panting. Panting means tired, but here it means that taking long breath. As he gradually recovered from the ghastly experience, he began to reason with himself. And then after some time, he recovered from that the scene that he had seen outside the window. He gradually recovered from the ghastly experience and began to reason with himself, and finally concluded that it must have been some sort of auto-suggestion, some trick that his subconscious had played on him. Then when he overcame his fear, he felt that it might have been his imagination. He might have been deceived by his imagination, because he had been thinking about that female ghost for many days. So when he looked out of the window, he might have seen that an image might have been formed there, and his imagination might have deceived him. By the time he had got up in the morning, he had a bath and come out to have his breakfast. The next morning when he got up, he had his breakfast, he had his bath. The horror of the previous night had faded from his memory. The frightful experience that he had the previous night, it had faded away. He had forgotten about that incident. Ishwaran greeted him at the door with his lunch packet and his bag. And when he was about to go after his breakfast, Ishwaran came at the door, greeted him, and handed his lunch. Just as Mahendra was stepping out, Ishwaran grinned and said, as Mahendra was to step out of the house for his office, Ishwaran stopped him and grinned. That means he smiled at him. Sir, remember the other day, when I was telling you about the female ghost and the fetus in its arm? And then he told Mahendra that he should remember the particular day when he was telling him about the particular female ghost and the fetus that it holds in her arms. You were so angry, and he reminded him that particular day he called it a nonsense. He called it his imagination, and he also got angry on Ishwaran with me for imagining things. That means that day he got angry with him. Well, you saw her yourself last night. And then he reminded Mahendra that he himself had seen that ghost the particular night. I came running hearing the sound of moaning that was coming from your room. And he told him that he had heard the moaning of sound from his room, that means from Mahendra's room. And he had come to his room to comfort him when the sound of moaning was coming from his room. A chill went down Mahendra's spine. That means got scared when he was reminded of the incident that he had experienced at night. He did not wait for Ishwaran to complete his sentence, and here he did not wait for Ishwaran to complete his words. He directly went out of the room, and He hurried way to his office. He was in a hurry to reach his office and handed his papers, resolving, that means making an important decision, to leave the haunted place the very next day. As soon as he reached his office, he had already written a resignation letter to the head office. He handed over the resignation letter to the officer in charge because he wanted to leave that haunted place as soon as possible. He had a very frightful experience that previous night. So here, children, we come to an end of the chapter. Thank you.